I'm the Tourism Division Manager for Calypso Tours.
What we do is try and attract more calls to Gibraltar in terms of cruise liners. 2010 saw a low of 174 calls. I have to say, with Neil's dynamism and his forward thinking, we are now in a position that figure is now going to be growing to 35% in 2016, which is great news for Gibraltar.
One of my main achievements was to be able to bring 3 new air routes to Gibraltar in the space of 3 years. We have new flights from Bristol, we have new flights from Birmingham and new flights from Tangier. And that has also worked with the cruise industry. This year we've had the most number of inaugural calls that Gibraltar has ever had. We have had 7 calls by the Anthem of the Seas, which we were able to secure last year. The Anthem of the Seas has almost 5,000 passengers and almost 2,000 crew. So imagine, on any one day when the Anthem has called to Gibraltar, you can have 3,000 people walking up and down Main Street, engaging in a lot of economic activity. One of the best community projects that I certainly have been involved with my colleagues John Cortes and Paul Balban has been Sandy Bay. We created 2 curved groins on each side, an underwater submerged breakwater. We brought in, I think it was 10,000, 70,000 tons of sand from Morocco, and 2 winters later, with some seriously bad weather during the course of both winters, you still have a magnificent beach. We realized when we came into office that accessibility to our beaches was impossible for persons with reduced mobility. And so we embarked on a project in the first year to start making our beaches accessible by certain ramps and ways to be able to get to the shoreline, certain specialized equipment that would allow persons with reduced mobility to be able to get to the shoreline and to be able to swim. Also, accessibility facilities in the toilets and the shower rooms. For some people in our community, that was just not a possibility, because to go to the beach, they will have to think about many, many issues, things that you and I would take for granted. If you ask me, I don't know why it had not been done before, because surely we were not the first people to realize that there were many people with reduced mobility who couldn't enjoy the beaches. But our accessibility project has been extended not just to the beaches, but to the Upper Rock tourist sites. For the very first time, Enable Holidays, which is a UK tour operator that caters for persons with reduced mobility to enjoy holidays, actually acclaimed Gibraltar for the changes it introduced. And those physical infrastructural changes, apart from all the legislative and other changes that we've introduced by increasing the amount of the disability benefit payment, the fact that they're now tax free, the fact that when we came in, we increased it to take into account all the many years for which it had not been increased. If you take all of that together, and our inclusive agenda, you realise that the government, apart from being a team of 10 individuals, have always worked together. And if it's possible to marry social services and social care with tourism, it's only because we have met every Monday. And when we discuss our issues, we do so as part of the group. And we're able to feed off each other and share our ideas and implement those ideas. And I know that I'm biased because I stand with the GSLP Liberal team, but no one can deny that the work that we have undertaken over the past 4 years has been primarily left, right and centre, and twice on Sundays for the benefit of our entire community. When I became Minister for Employment, I think the average of unemployed was around a little over 200. How did we do that? Well, first of all, we made sure that those people who were unemployed, who were looking for a job, actually got the attention from government, and we have employment officers actually calling employers, arranging for interviews for people who are seeking employment. Our mission was clear. Anyone who wants to find a job should be able to find a job, and the government will facilitate that endeavour. In our 4 years of government, there were 749 Gibraltarians employed. We were told by the GSD when they were in government that Gibraltarians didn't want to do certain trades. They didn't want to do construction. They didn't want to do tiling or plumbing. They didn't want to be engineer crafts. We always maintained that that was not the case. In 2011, there were less Gibraltarians in construction than there were in 1996. In other words, all of those jobs were being taken by cross-frontier workers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we did not think that that was because Gibraltarians did not want to do them. It's just that they weren't being properly encouraged or were given the skills to do so. Additionally, most elderly care, residential care was also being done by cross-border workers. Again, nothing wrong with that. But we were being told it was because Gibraltarians didn't want to do them. And the fact is that today, 3.5 years later, the Training for Employment initiative started by Joe Bossano, colloquially known as the Future Jobs Strategy, has had the effect on the labour market that around 1,200 previously unemployed people are in employment. And the Future Jobs Strategy, contrary to everything that you've heard, is in fact a huge success. But by any objective standard, if you look at publications such as The Economist or other financial newspapers, and you look at training schemes in the world, I think that most of them would agree that paying somebody a minimum wage, the national minimum wage, guaranteeing them a job at the end of it, making sure that they learn the skills and the trades that go with that job is by any measure a complete and utter success. In the last manifesto, we had a commitment to set up an Office of Fair Trading. The Office of Fair Trading was a commitment that was pushed by the two business umbrella organisations, the GFSB and the Chamber. The idea of the Fair Trading Act is simple. It's a statutory regime that protects consumers to make sure that the person that shops, his position and his rights are protected, but also the businesses receive protection. The OFT as a regulator employs consumer protection officers and consumer enforcement officers. So they will be the enforcement arm of the Fair Trading Act. They will make sure that all businesses are regulated, that they're paying their taxes, they're properly licensed, so that therefore we create what the business organizations have been calling for many, many years, which is a level playing field. But what we think is revolutionary about the Office of Fair Trading is not just that you can set up your business by just going to one government office. You can actually now do so online. And that also completes another very important government pledge, which was to have e-government. And e-government is revolutionary because you can be anywhere in Gibraltar, indeed anywhere in the world, taking the steps that you need to take to set up your business. And this ease of doing business, of course, is a quantum leap from where we were just 4 years ago. Apart from everything else that I've told you, I think the reason why you should vote for the GSLP Liberals is this. The last 4 years have proven to the people of Gibraltar that for us, a promise is a promise is a promise, and that they know they can talk to ministers who actually care and who actually will get angry with other people if their phone calls aren't returned, if a meeting doesn't happen quickly enough, if their concerns aren't being addressed. And from what you want, I think, from a political team that's heading and in charge of your affairs is a person who will also care as much as you do for your family and for your family's happiness and prosperity, well-being and future.